morning, Rabboisai. That's a very good idea. Today's shir is being sponsored by Isaac, Marashli, Refuah shelma for Rachel Bat Yaffa, having surgery this Tuesday. She should have a Refuah shelma. And by the MDY family. I looked it up this morning. The Olam is paying they're paying the highest tariff, the high 180 they're paying per day. The Olam got together. They could have gotten away with $100. No, 180. Leilui nishmat, Yerachmiel, Zechron Levracha ben, Yibadol L'chaim Tovim, Rabbi Yisroel. And leilui nishmat, Yehoshua ben Boruch Nosson, the neshama should have an aliyah. Dear Reb Eli and the entire MDY family, this is from a family member of the Gordons. I'm a nephew of Rabbi Yisroel Gordon and watch your daily Daf Yomi shir on Torahanytime. I'm writing this letter to tell you how much it means to the entire Gordon family, what the MDY family did and continues to do as a schus for Yerachmiel. There are people from MDY constantly calling and walking into the house to be Menachem Aval. Just from listening how Rabbi Yisroel and his wife are talking about how much they appreciate what MDY has done is evident that it is coming from the depth of their hearts. Rabbi Yisroel said, in other words, Rabbi Yisroel's depth of his heart, he keeps on talking about it. I hear this from everybody. Rabbi Yisroel said that you cannot imagine what kind of a schus it is to have a shir dedicated for his neshama, as each shir has hundreds of participants, which accumulates to thousands of hours learned as a schus. It is amazing to see something like this, as these are people who have not known him or even ever met him. I've sat in the house during Shiva and watched him talk about what the MDY is doing. I'm confident to say that this is probably one of the biggest ways of being Menachem, the family, during this difficult time. May Hashem bench the entire MDY family that we should only have to participate in each other's simchas and no more tragedies. Why Gordon? He wants to remain anonymous. And here's a real quick shout out. Rabbi Yisroel Gordon asked that I make sure you know that Yoel Bergman called him today to be Menachem. Rabbi Yisroel said he was very touched by Yoel and the others that called, and some apparently came to see him today. So Yishkoyach Yoel Bergman, the CEO, the 14-year-old CEO from Chicago. I got a nice picture. You see this guy? Listen to what he has to say. Rebbe Eli, yes, Hasidim is the word. My Rebbe says Nisim is not what makes a Rebbe. A Rebbe helps people move forward. There couldn't be a more appropriate word than Hasidim. I know you like flicking them deep to the point, but that's because Kol HaPoisel b'mumoy poisel. He's saying that I'm a chassid, therefore I flick a chassid. Rebbe Eli, it won't help you. You're a chassid and you're a neshama. The frishkeit you instill in us, you cause us to grow and be better Hasidim. All right, listen. Each to their own. Shlomi Klein thinks I'm Lubavitch. He thinks I'm a chassid. A chassid does lefnim mishurus hadin. I used to, I'm Breslev. What, you think I'm Breslev? No. Breslev has regime. I do the real tchelis, my friend. Those are apostolic people. This is the right. Only me. I'm the right thing. Do I want to know what?
What I think you are?
You think I'm like you, and the modern Orthodox thinks I'm modern Orthodox. They're all right. No, what do you think I am? No, let's go. No, bring it on. We'll leave it for Shachris. During Chazar Shashatz. Chassidim don't talk during Chazar Shashatz. A chassid does lefnim mishurus hadin. I used to learn the daf yotzis zayin. I know somebody here in the neighborhood, he eats fish on Shabbos, yotzis zayin. So what does he do? To be yotzah, he opens up a can of tuna and he gives each person a little mashu of tuna fish, and they taste it, yotzis zayin. So he used to learn the daf yotzis zayin. But now I live the daf, and I'm mekayim the mitzvah of v'ahavtas Hashem Elokecha b'chol levavcha. You hear this? He's mekayim the mitzvah of v'ahavtas Hashem Elokecha b'chol levavcha by learning Torah. I can't thank you enough. Rebbe Eli, Heilige Rebbe Eli, you mamish changed my life. You mamish changed my life. To the tune, he says. David Hachhauser, the chassid who joins live on Motzei Shabbos. Was that you that started, Levi? I think like a year and a half ago you started singing that. Since then, they're imitators. Do we have time? We don't have time, but I need to, this is sitting in the pile for weeks. This is Avram Zorov. Where in the world do you do daf? He does daf. Mandelevo, Russia, located 47 kilometers northwest of Moscow's Kremlin. For the last 3 winters, my wife and I are Madrichim, Valentinga's Kiev seminar, 2-week duration, Soviet-era hotel located in snow-banked forest. The Varatzolos Nitche Yisroel seminal seminar is run by Rabbi Naftali, who pronounced Zucker. Already 31 years. It was illegal to teach Torah back in the day, but now it is. The irony of the history is that an Israeli citizen, I didn't even need a visa to enter Russia's borders. He's an Israeli citizen. He's from Kiryat Sefer, and he goes to Russia to be Mekarev. And here's the tzaddik that he's Mekarev. It's hard to believe that it's almost a year, just when COVID started in Russia. Last year I learned with Moshe, originally from Siberia. Guy lived in Siberia, Moshe from Siberia. Where are you from? Siberia. Unbelievable. I guess Jews got stuck there. They were stuck in Siberia for all the years. Who expressed interest in learning Yomi Pesachim. He wanted to learn Be'iyun. He's determined to have clarity. Moshe extremely organized, bright and great, making charts to clarify machlokes. I later learned that he's a mathematician. Attached a photo of myself with the chavrusa. By the way, I'm a musician who would be happy to help David address with future MDY songs. You can't not. You're also a musician, right? It can't get better than that. Rabbi said, let's sing it together. Where in the world do you do daf? Here. Oh, that's what he's saying. He does it, and so. Huh? You mom changed your life. Okay, fine. No, Rabbi says, send in those pictures. Where in the world do you do daf? Somebody just texted me yesterday. He's going to Puerto Rico, and he's going to be sending us a picture from Puerto Rico. All right. Zok Tehillim Gemar. We are holding daf Mem Daled Amud Beis. Today's Mem Hey. Yesterday, we were learning these massive musagim in Shas. Tam ki'ikr. Does the flavor that's imparted by food have the halacha as the food itself? Create new food, new isurim. And isur mitztaref or heter mitztaref le'isur. If you have a half a kazayis of heter, could you combine it with another half a kazayis of isur and make one full kazayis of isur? We can learn one from the other. Rabbanon to Rabbi Kiva. Now what? Mishras. The word mishras by Nazir comes to teach us, to teach us the idea that if I put grapes into water and the water tastes like grapes, the whole cup becomes one piece of grape. And if a person is a Nazir and eats drinks that cup of grape and it has a kazayis in there, not really kazayis of water, he's over. If he's a Nazir, he gets malchus, even though it just has the flavor of grapes. Tam ki'ikr. Remember that for the rest of your life. Tam, the flavor is like the source. And from that I take to all these surim. Yesterday we had a whole, where was it? Let me see if I could even find it. No. Remember, Nazir is not forever, last 30 days. Nazir, there's no Isra Nah. If you're a Nazir, you could deal with grapes all day long, make money off of it. And you could go to a rabbi and tell the rabbi you want out, and he'll get you out. But other Isurim, Klayim, Arla, you have at least 1 or 2, 3 of these things on the list, and therefore it's much more Chamor, and therefore if it's Klayim, for instance, let's talk about Arla. Everybody knows what Arla is, a fruit that's less than 3 years old, is Asr Bahana. It's Asr, well not La'olam according to Rashi, but it has no heter. You can't go to a Rav and say, oh, could you let me eat Arla today? So Memela, certainly the flavor of Arla that you put into water, the whole water should turn into Arla water. Okay. So Memela, Atadon Kol Isurim Shabbat Torah. So now I know it for all Isurim. What about Rebbe Akiva? Rebbe Akiva takes the word Mishras and learns this halacha. The halacha of Heter Mitztaref Le'isur. I take a piece of bread that I'm allowed to eat, I'm a Nazir, and I put it together with 2 tiny little grapes. It's as if I ate a whole kazayis of grapes, even though I don't have a kazayis of grapes. Could I take that idea and use it in all of the Torah, for nevela, for chazer, for dam, whatever it is? I should bring it to the entire Torah. Why am I stuck? Daf Kabai Nazir. Amalei, top of Amud Aleph. Mishum da have nazir v'chatas shnei ksuvim abayim ke'echad ve'ein melamdin. So this is a famous concept of all of Shas, but here we're going to have maybe a variation of a twist here that's different than the rest of Shas, a better explanation of what this means. Anytime you have two psukim, think about it. If you have one pasuk, the Torah says one pasuk, for instance, Heter is mitzaref to Isser, one pasuk. So then I could take that pasuk and learn it to the entire Torah. Why not? Hashem said it in one place. It's for us to expand to the whole Torah. But once HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells it to us in two places, so Hashem is telling us, no, I'm saying it bedafk in these two places. Otherwise, I could have just said it in one place and learned the second place from the first place. The reason why I'm putting it in two places is to tell you just these two places, nowhere else in the Torah. What if these two places have special chidushim? HaKadosh Baruch Hu couldn't have just said it in one. He had to show us two places because each one has a different chiddush. Once it has a different chiddush, then this idea of shnei ksuvim ma'abayim ke'echad is erased. Then the two psukim do come to teach us. So that's the next step. That's the twist that this Gemara is talking about. Shnei ksuvim ma'abayim ke'echad ve'ein melamdim, says Rabbi Kiva. Since I have two places, we have Nazir, and we have one more place called Chatas that teaches this same idea that Heter is mitzdaref to Isser, a half a shear of good stuff and a half a shear of bad stuff combined to make one big shear of bad, that I see also by a Chatas. And Memela, I don't have the right to expand that to Klayim, to anything else. But let's say each one has a special Chiddush, then I would expand to the rest of the Torah. Okay, let's see. Nazir, Hoda Amara. When it comes to a Nazir, we just had a whole sugya, Heter mitzaref l'Isser. Grapes, bread, the picture. Chatas mai, what's the chatas? The sanya. Koyle sheyiga b'bsar yigdosh. When Mamish going through Shas, according to the, I forgot the name already, Yisroel Goldstein's father's mechutin. Koyle sheyiga b'bsar yigdosh. Anything that touches the chatas, yigdosh becomes like a chatas. Imagine, you have a steak that you bought in the store, or let's say shlamim, which has it's kachim kalim, they touch each other, poof. The kachim kalim becomes like the kachim, becomes very severe. Yachal afidu loy bla, maybe just touched, like the pasuk says, yiga. No, tamaloy ma bibsara achi bala ba basar. It has to absorb. The shlamim must absorb some of the chatas, and then it becomes like a chatas. She'im psulahi tipasal. Okay, so if everybody went home right now, we just learned the halacha that we didn't learn forever. This pasuk, it's a pasuk, we just read it, we hear the balkoyer, but what does it say? If shlamim or chulin touches kachim, and it absorbs a little bit of the juices into it, it becomes like it. To what halacha? Liya is kemaya, to be exactly like a chatas, shim psulahi, that if the kohen thought a machsheves pigul, while he's shechting the chatas, he said, I'm going to eat this for 4 days. Instead of 1 day, it becomes pigul. And then the shlamim that touched it becomes pigul. Becomes like it. Everything l'chumra, tipasal. Vim ksheirahi, and if the chatas is good to eat, te'achal kechamer shaba. Then you could only eat the shlamim like you would eat a chatas. Chatas is very severe. You could only eat a chatas in the azara. You have to be a kohen, you have to be a zachar. You could only eat it for 1 day. Take all those halachas and apply them to shlamim. Shlamim you could take home. Shlamim a woman could eat. No, it has to be just like a chatas. But what do you see? You see the idea of heter mitzaref le'isser. How much already is absorbed in the shlamim? Come on, 1 drop of chatas went in there. But you take the kezayis of the shlamim and put it together with 1 tiny drop of a chatas, and all of a sudden you have a shear of a chatos inside the shlamim. So here's the idea of heter mitzaref le'isser. Rabbanan nami. So what about Rabbanan? Nehevi nozav v'chatas shniksum abam ke'echad. Ve'im elamdim. Rabbi Kiva is saying very good. You have two halachas that are very similar, or the same exact. You have Nazir that teaches us heter is mitzaref le'isser. We have chatas that teaches us heter is mitzaref le'isser. Ve'im elamdim. You cannot apply it to the rest of the Torah. So too, Rabbanan. What did Rabbanan learn from Nazir? Rabbanan learn tam ki'ikr, that the flavor is like the source. You have it twice. They're also going to learn that the reason why the shlamim becomes like the chatas is because it has some of the flavor of the chatas. You can't learn from it. But we learned that Rabbanan applied to the whole Torah. From the Kolchkin, from the Kavachomer, the Nazir, you could go ask a rabbi, but everything else, you can't ask a rabbi, so the whole Torah is like. Says the Gemara, Hanu Matzich Amri, Hanu Matzich Tzrichi. Somebody came over to me last night by Ma'ariv that I missed 2 words 2 daf ago. I don't know what to do. It's not true. He watches it over and over in the change. Every day. Just watches. You go to the change, Huh?
Oh, Yoni.
Yoni. Boruch Nosson. You know what he told me? He says, I don't understand. How come Nachum didn't say anything? I said, Nachum isn't here. The last few days he's not here. He mamish chapped. Okay. So, says the Gemara, we're going to see in a second, that according to Chachamim, mitzvah tzrichi, since there's something special about each pasuk, then I could apply these halachas to the whole Torah. Rabbi Kiva, what are you talking about? There's nothing special here. Okay, fine. You cannot learn chulin from kachim. I understand that. But as Rabbi Kiva, say in one pasuk. I'll tell you which pasuk. You're right. If the Torah would have only said the concept of chatos, I wouldn't be able to learn anything out of it because you can't learn anything from kachim. It's a whole different category. But the Torah should have said just one pasuk, one concept of heter mitzdaref l'isser. Which one? By the common folk one. By Nazir. Anybody could become a Nazir. And once I know it by Nazir, I'll know it all of the Torah. So why did the Torah repeat it twice? The Torah repeated twice to tell us, dafk in these 2 places, nowhere else. Anything can be learned from Nazir. So again, once Rabbanan say, no, each pasuk has its own chiddush. Once it has its own chiddush, it's almost counterintuitive, it's slightly confusing. Once each one has its own chiddush, then I could go out and learn the entire Torah from it. Like for a second you think, no, it has its own chiddush, it's for itself. No, since it has its own chiddush, so now you cannot apply the idea of shnei ksum abayim ke'echad ein melamdim. It is melamdim, and it's for the rest of the Torah. But we have to find out what exactly is the chiddush here. Chatos leheter mitzaref l'isser. So listen to this. Now the Gemara tells us a little secret. The Chachamim also agreed to Rabbi Kiva about this idea of heter mitzaref l'isser. It's not that Rabbi Kiva is all by himself, heter mitzaref l'isser. Chachamim are all by themselves, tam kicker. Everybody holds everything. It's just where do you apply it? Is it only by kachim or it's the whole Torah? So Chachamim chatos leheter mitzaref l'isser. Chachamim agree that there's a concept called, you take a little bit of heter, add it together with a little bit of isser, and you make one big isser out of it. But that's by chatos. You can't apply that rule to the whole Torah. Mishras, so what do they do with the word mishras? To soak, by nazir, you didn't tam kicker. That's their main limud. Tam kicker. Now, why don't Rabbanan learn from Hagalas Kalim? You buy a kli from a guy, you have to put it into remember that Hagalas Kalim picture I showed? Unbelievable. For free, Yosef, for free. 20 booths, you sit there with screwdrivers, they'll take off your handles for you, everything for free. Why am I so excited? Because remember that guy, I had the Hagalas Kalim business when I burnt myself, yeah. So why can I learn from there the idea of tam ki'ikr? Why do you have to do Hagalas Kalim? Because a little bit of the flavor in the pot is going to, so that we learned yesterday, that's a big chiddush, because that flavor is disgusting. And when a flavor is disgusting, you're not over, like nevela. Nevela has to be something edible. Okay, fine, that was yesterday. Sugi Rashi just points it out. Here again. And once I know the idea of tam ki'ikr, which is by nazir, from nazir I could go everywhere. No, both concepts, chatos and nazir, are both to tell us the idea of heter mitzdaref l'isser. And why do I need them? I could only say by one, by nazir, and I'll learn the concept for everywhere. End of this sugya. It says in the pasuk, anything made from grapes, from the seed to the peel, and then it says, lo yoichel. Those are very important words, because those words tell us that the lo yoichel goes on the whole pasuk, on every single thing in that pasuk. If I take a half a kazayis of seeds and a half a kazayis of peels, put them together and eat them, I'm a nazir, I get malchus. Ask the Gemara, a very beautiful question. If I take a piece of bread, where's the picture? Stop. If I take a piece of bread that has no connection to grapes, and it's a half a kazayis or 3/4 of a zayis, and I take 2 grapes that are a fraction of a kazayis, and I put them together and I eat them, I'm over. So of course, if I take a few grapes and a bunch of seeds of grapes, I should be over. What's the chiddush over here? There's tam over here, there's tam over there. Says the Gemara, there's a big chiddush. Amalei isa veheter bevasachas, and this sheds lights on the whole sugya. How is he eating it exactly? Isa veheter, when you eat the bread and the grapes, you have to eat them together. What if you eat? It almost makes sense. You're a nazir. You're sitting at the table. You had by mistake 1 grape. 4 minutes later, you eat a piece of bread. You're over. You get malchus. It's within achilas pras, right? Between 3 and 9 minutes. So according to the sheet, 9 minutes, you can't have any candy, nothing. You ate a grape by mistake, you got to stop eating. You have to fast for 9 minutes. Doesn't make sense. Biyachat, together, you eat the bread together with the grape. Now I have an achila of isser. However, isser v'isser, if within 3 to 9 minutes, b'chdei achilas pras, I have a half a kazayis of seeds, and then 5 minutes later I have a half a grape, poof, then you get malchus. Why? Because within achilas pras, I ate a isser and a isser. But if I eat a isser and a heter within achilas pras, it has to be together like a sandwich. Zok the Mishnah. Today's Mishnah, the official Mishnah, is sponsored Mazel Tov to our nibblings. Only official talks like that. Nibblings. Siblings, nibblings, chliblings. Nibblings, Yitzchak and Chana Erman. You know them. From Chicago. On the birth and the naming of Tehillah Mazel Tov. You knew that? He even knew, Yeshua knew the name. Says the Mishnah, Botzik Shebetitke Areva. Oh, I brought some stuff today. Rabbi say this is not Pashut. Whoa. Here is my wife's ex-dough bowl. And I say ex. When she wakes up today. Oy vavoy. So, if there's a hole in... If there's a hole in the bowl, and you put some dough in there, if there is a kazayis in one place, chayiv. So the Gemara is going to tell us, and we're going to see, that it's talking about that the hole is on the side. I don't know if you can see. Oh, here. That's much better. There's a drill or a special bit. Oh, I hear, what are you making noise there? No, it's fine, it's fine, it's a dog. 4:30 in the morning. Okay. I didn't wake you up, Ruvain. Anyways, there's a hole in the side over here. No, it was worth it. Chayav levar. So if there's dough in there, chayav levar. V'mloi bottom miyutah. Fine, we're going to see exactly where this is, what it is. Huh? He's saying tomorrow I'm getting an Amazon package, new bowls, bigger and brighter. No, I asked my wife for shus. I really did. So this we're not going to explain really right now because there's 4 pshatim in the Gemara, but just real quickly, if you want to be toivel this bowl, this is plastic, but let's say it's a material that you could be toivel, and there's dough holding up a hole. So if it's part of the bowl, I could be toivel. It's not chaytzitz, it's not chatzitza, but if it's not part of the bowl, it's causing me aggravation. I have to clean it out, and you put it in the mikveh like any chatzitza. You can't go to the mikveh with something on you or on the bowl. And if you want it, it's like the bowl. So now pay attention because we're going to have one memra of Shmuel, which coincides with the exact brisa, and then we're going to flip it around the exact opposite, and there's another brisa exactly like that. That what? Says Shmuel. So, Rabbi say, I don't know if I should put on gloves here. Maybe I should, I don't know. I think this is going to be a mess. It's still kedai because Levi's upset at me. I didn't make a thing yesterday. There's another noise going on, and that was the mixer, the bash mixer. Here we go. So, if it's on the bottom, and I put some dough on, I'm going to have to put my gloves on, I think.
Cover the hole, like a patch.
Okay, hold on. Here we go. I'm not such a dough maker, but Baruch Hashem, it worked. You see? So if the dough closes up the hole, where? The bottom hole. That's l'chazik. L'chazik over here, we're just going to read it. L'hachzik. It's to hold the water. You cannot have a bowl that can't hold water. You could have a bowl that has a hole on the side. I should have made it slightly higher up so you could see. This is not the end of the world. I could still put in water even though I have a hole here. But this, it's not a bowl. So therefore, this is an integral part of my bowl. This is going to stay here forever to hold the water in. So memela, l'chazik, then it's not bottle. That's why the Mishnah says you got to get rid of it. But if it's on the bottom of the bowl, on Pesach, I got to have this piece of dough sitting in my bowl. What could I be medayik from that? Michlal, the pach is mikazayis, if it's less than a kazayis. This is because it's a full kazayis. But if I have less than a kazayis, where? Over here, geschmack, look at that. Ooh. So the top one is a different sugya, we're not there yet. That's mamish on top, the dough never gets there. I'm talking about where you do the dough, that area over here. Over here, less than a kazayis, you don't have to be mevayer. When it's a full kazayis, that I could only get away with, it's on the bottom. But on the side, I could get away with less than a kazayis. Okay. Some say it very differently, which is the exact opposite, l'chayra. And we're going to see not so pashut. Maybe these two brises, or these two things go together. V'im lav botel b'miuta. It says in the Mishnah that if you have botel shebetzid harev, im yesh kazayis b'mokom echad, a whole kazayis chay levar, v'im loy botel b'miuta. If it's less than kazayis, you don't have to be mevar. On that Shmuel comes along. That's because you put it over here. You put it on the bottom. You put it on the bottom what? Less than a kazayis. But if you put it over here on top, then even if it's a small amount, you have to get rid of it. So what do we have here? Basically, very pashut. According to the first Shmuel, if it's less than a kazayis, you could always get away with it. Less than a kazayis, even on top, where it doesn't hold water. If it's a kazayis, then you could get away with it if it's on the bottom. It's doing something bad. The other way is the opposite, not the opposite. Kazayis is never ever good. You got to get rid of it, even if it's on the bottom. Less than a kazayis, you also have to get rid of it. You hear, Levi? You also have to get rid of it unless it's on the bottom. So now we have the same exact thing in the brisa. Says the Gemara Tani Kilish Nekama, which is the big kula. That's why it's in green. That a kazayis you could get away with if it's on the bottom. Less than a kazayis you get away with in the whole thing. We have a brisa exactly like the Lishna Brasra. Tani Kilish Nekama, Botzig Shibetzit Reva, B'mokam Osel Chazik. If it's on the bottom, it doesn't cause a chatzitza. You can take it to the mikveh like that, and you're not over on Pesach. If it's on the side of the bowl, then if it's a kazayis, you're over. I could get away with less than kazayis on the side of the bowl. Fine. V'tanya Kalishna Basra. And I learned like the second lashon, Batzik Shibitzit Gareva. Dough that's on the side of the bowl, this is more chomer. If it's on the bottom, I cannot get away with the kazayas. In other words, I can never get away with the kazayas. The most I can get away with, even on the bottom, is a very small amount. But if it's on top, even a small amount always causes chatzitza. Is always over on Pesach. A kazayis you can never get away with. You see, like this, right over here. Kazayis is never good. Less than a kazayis is only good in one place, on the bottom. And according to the Lishon Kama, a kazayis is good in one place, on the bottom. A less than a kazayis is good everywhere. So we have a contradiction between the brises, between the Lashonis of Shmuel. And we just turned to the Amud Beis, sponsored by Gedalia Fenster, who has a tremendous following, 20,000 people. Talks about the Daf, the Refuah shelma of Yerachmiel Daniel ben Tova Basho. Today is exactly 1 year since we started the Daf, if you go by the solar year, 365 days ago. As Yehoshua, I didn't hear anything from David Feinberg, but he's very makbid to keep it with the Jewish calendar, so that's why probably. Right, David? Where's David? Kasil Weisberger is vaping. Shalom Aleichem, how you doing? Zev Roth, David Osborne, Shalom Aleichem. Oh, Zev Roth, I saw your stories. You held us like there, woo, in the middle of the story, you didn't say who it was, in the middle of the drasha. Okay. Zog the Gemara, I'm talking about the Ara Merkaz, check it out, it's good stuff. Kashin Adodi. We have a contradiction here. Is a kazayis never good? Is a kazayis good on the bottom? Is a smaller kazayis always good or only on the bottom? Which one is it? Omer Avhuno Samei Kilto Mikamei Chamirta. I have a kula brisa in green, go, and I have a red brisa, stop. This is chamor, let's go with the chamor one. Let's just be machmir. Kazayis is never good, and less than a kazayis a dough. On the bottom, I'll let it fly on Pesach. I'll let you dunk that in the mikvah. Rav Yosef Omar, Tanoi Shakalt Ma'alma, what? You're missing Tanoim, there's so many Tanoim everywhere. I'm sure I can find someone who will agree with you. Tanoi, Desanyo, Hapas She'ipsho, Rabboisai, I have it from my kutoch. I'm not going to take it out of the bag, I caused the whole, there's another problem. Not only did I destroy her bowl, but there's blue coloring all over the sink, and it doesn't come out. Because today was not a very good day. Here it is. It's bag within bag. It's nervine, this stuff. This is printer dye. If it gets in your sink, goodbye sink. Pashi Ipsho. What are you going to do with this? Chayiv Levair. Could you believe it? This, you cannot leave this around, Pesach. Why not? It's not. Who's going to eat this? If you eat this, your insides will be green for the rest of your life. You can't eat it. You know why? Because this has something that is rawi. You could take this and make bread out of it. I take this piece, it's like sourdough. I put it in another bowl of dough, and it becomes dough. That's why. Nothing to do with eating. And so Pesach is about eating, no? No, it says in the pasuk so'ar. So'ar lo yimatzu v'teichem. It has to do with the leavening agent. This is leavening agent. Forget about eating. Reb Shimon Allah zo'ime b'med dvar mamurim. B'mekuyemes la'achila. It's something that you could eat. Aval, kufos. What's kufos? A block. A big giant piece of chametz. You see this? I'm not joking, they used to take a giant piece of chametz and use it as a chair nebuch. This is what they used to do. When they ate kutach, they would do it on these. You're talking about a different generation. If we don't have the leather, this, one giant piece. So in other words, if I say to myself, I'm designating this as a chair, then I can take it out of chametz. It's no longer chametz, it's a chair. That's why, let's say you have Play-Doh, it might be made out of chametz, it's not chametz. This is the Chachamim say. Let's say I have something hanging on my wall, a picture with chametz in it. No, it's a picture. That's not chametz. I'm not over bal yirav bal yamatz. I don't have to start throwing out my art or whatever, or all my children's Play-Doh and whatever it is. Fine. Yeah, pictures made out of noodles, pictures made out of kernels of grain, whatever it is. From the gan, yeah. Aval kuf koifes sa'or shichta liyeshiva batla. Now, there's a machlokes in it. Mid Omer b'Shimon ben Elazar batla. Michlal the Tanakama Savalei batla. Tanakama says, no, not true. And we in fact paskin like Tanakama what? We're going to see soon. You have to cover this with something. You have to put some plaster on it. Akal part of you see that even if you take a kazayis of chametz and you say this is bottle forever, it's forever and ever. This is going to be a cheer. This chametz, according to the Tanakama, it's still chametz. Okay, so that's the difference between. So here's the Manda Omar. We have a Manda Omar that says the Tanakama. You can't be mevatel. So you say, okay, it's a good teretz when it comes to full kazayis. That you're not mevatel. That you're mevatel, not mevatel. Here we go. We have a Tana that says you mevatel this, Tana says not. But we have a contradiction with the lesser shear. If it's less than a kazayis, one brisa says I can use it anywhere, even on top, even over here. The other brisa says no, only on the bottom, not on the top. So what do I do with that? Elahava Reb Shimon ben Elazar, says the Gemara, both brises are Reb Shimon ben Elazar. Very, very pashut. Ha shaloi b'makom lisha. So this is a very long Rashi. I'll spare you the Rashi. Rashi says there's something else going on here. I mean, the Gemara says, Rabbiya. There's actually a third place. And that's all the way on top over here. On top over here, a third hole. Now what's the difference? Over here, the dough never reaches here. I'm going down here. The dough reaches here, water reaches here. So we have water, dough, nothing. And basically, the brises agree with each other on everything, on every single thing. That what? If it's on the bottom, the hole's on the bottom, I could use a kazayis. Everybody agrees on that? And if it's on the top, everybody agrees I can't use anything. I'm done. Because the top is not part of the kli. I don't need it to hold in anything. Get rid of it. And if it's in the middle, on the doifen, then it has to be less than a kazayis. So we have 0, less than a kazayis, a kazayis. If it's on the bottom, I can use a full kazayis because it's holding water. If it's on the side by the wall, I could use less than a kazayis. And if it's on the top, I can't use anything. I got to get rid of it. I got to be mevaret. All brises are in sync. They all hold like Reb Shimon, and that's the end of the story. Says the Gemara, Omer Ravashi, Loi Teimen Shalei B'Makim Lisha Agavada Agona. Now I've been cheating a little bit. I've been showing you the outside the whole time. But he's saying, don't say that the dough is on the outside. The outside. I mean, who would ever have such a havamir? That's what he says. Don't say the dough is on the outside. It means the dough is covering the inside hole. Says the Gemara, Pshita. Of course, it's on the inside. How else is it holding in water? How else is it doing anything? Says the Gemara, sometimes my dough rises so much and it comes over the bowl and touches the outside. So I would think, maybe it's part of the kli. No, part of the kli is only on the inside. Fine. If I cancel my cheer made out of dough, batal u'mevutal. Ask the Gemara, Einiv, Omer Rabbi Yitzchak, Marashli, Omer Rav, in the name of Rav. Remember this, in the name of Rav. Im toch ponei abatit. If you take plaster and give it a little schmear on the top, then the cheer becomes no more chametz. It becomes a cheer. Toch in, loy toch loy. It seems mefurish that you have to put a very thin layer over the cheer. It's not good just to take a nice, yummy, geschmack, a giant sheva brachas challah and say, oh, now it's going to be a cheer and I'm going to have a giant challah in my living room. You have to put a small layer of something on it. No, but you just told me I could just be mevatel it. I don't have to be toch. Says the Gemara, the two Talmidim of Rav, one said that you have to put a layer of plaster, and the other one didn't. How you doing, Andrew Glatz, for the second time? I know that you're on for a while, but I just noticed you again. Huh? I don't believe it. Yeshua, by the way, is going to America. Rabbi Isai, We're going to be Mekabel Pnei Tzaddik in different places. They're going to be a big list. He's going all the way from Chicago to Chicago and back, and the Olam is invited to drive to see him. But, listen to this. Official from official catering response to the Mishnah drove 6 hours to Lakewood to be Menachem Avel. The chesed just gets bigger and bigger. All right, unbelievable. Omer of Nachman, Omer Shmuel. I think that, so. You're going tomorrow to be Menachem Avel. You're flying for the Nichum Avelim. Is he still he's still sitting tomorrow? He's saying yes. By the way, I feel bad. When Yeshua was in America with me, he wanted to drive to Philadelphia to the hospital. I didn't let him. And it was a mess I didn't let him. That was the night. He tells me I'm pulling over in the Lincoln Tunnel so I could drive because he's about to crash into the wall. There's no stopping in the Lincoln Tunnel, Yeshua. He's never been in New York. He's like, I got to pull over. Eli, drive me. And he wanted to drive to Philadelphia, whatever. Okay. Omer of Nachman, Omer Shmuel, Shnei Chatzoi Zeisim, V'chut Shel Botzik B'neim. Look at this, Rabbi Isai, very poshut. I'm not going to do this because it's already 8 o'clock, but you get the idea. You have 2 half a kazeisim, and you have something between them. Look at this. Givaldik. Wow, it worked out beautiful. Is this half a kazais, and this half a kazais become 1 kazais for Isser? Well, we said on the bottom not, so let's do it this way. Sorry, this way. But you get the point. It goes from here to here. Okay, great. Wow. Givaldik. Are they mitzaref? Says the Gemara, Royin. V'chut shel batzik b'neim. Royin. Kol shili not elachut v'nitalim mimoy. If I pull this string or nothing happened, then this is okay. Chayav levar. Kol shili not elachut v'nitalim mimoy. If it pulls together with all the dough together, then it's one shtick. Then it's a great connection. Chayav levar. V'imla. But if it's a very thin connection, and chayav levar, then you don't have to. Omar lo. That's only when it's within a bowl, inside the bowl. I did it on the outside for demonstration purposes, but inside the bowl, because now it's kavua. It's within the bowl. Ava babayis, let's say it's stuck between my tiles on the floor. I have a kazais here and I have a kazais here. Chayav levar, you have to, I don't see the time. Oh, thank you. My taima, the zimin the konish lahu, you're going to sweep the floor, and you're going to gather it on the floor, the half kazais from here and the half kazais from there. That's great if it's in your dining room. But what about a half kazais in your 3rd floor and a half kazais in the basement? Does it go together? Are we concerned that you're going to sweep from one place to the other? Now, if you say yes, I'm concerned. What if it's the inside of the house and the outside? And if I'll say yes, that's a problem, because there's people walking there and back and forth, and it might be batal. But what about shnei batim zelifnim mezeh? What about 2 houses, one within each other? Teiku. Tana Rabbanan. Hapashi ipsho. Here's the bread again. My beautiful bread from my kutoch. The bread got moldy. V'nifsala melech adam, and a person can't eat it. V'akelev yachal achla, but a dog. Don't ever get a dog. A dog could eat it. Metamo tumas oichlin kibeitzo. This could be metamo, another type of food, the size of an egg. So in other words, it has to be the size of an egg in order to be metamo, another food. Why? It doesn't lose its tumah, even though humans can't eat it. It only loses its tumah once animals can't eat it. Remember, we jumped into the famous sugya Chanina's Gana Kehanim from this. Can you burn truma? This is truma that's not tamei, but guess what? It's not edible. So the answer is yes, you could burn this together with other stuff because it's not edible. Bepesach. It's not metama. Says the Gemara, and what about the Mishnah? They said a klal. Anything that's designated for human consumption, it's all the way tamei till the dog can't eat it. Nu kiman, like Refuah Nosson. Refuah Nosson just said it doesn't have to do with that. So Mamela, it doesn't go like Refuah Nosson. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Shema Elois mimamakim chosich la'adinoi. Adonai Shema Galidi, Elois nachim shavos l'kodachim la'oi. Ima v'nei tishmoya Adonai mi amoid. Imcha slicha l'man tivorei. Kivisi adinoi kivisi. Cholti. Nafshil adinim shemim laboiker. Yechel Yisroel adinoi kivadinoi achesed v'arbei moifedos. V'yivdei Yisroel v'kol aviniso. V'achel gavaz Yisroel anitzim shavim. How you doing, Tzaddik? Baruch Hashem. What's up? You have a kasha?
Yeah, because if in the beginning with
I'm listening.
the two, with that you're allowed, Nazir is allowed to be Isaac with grapes, then
Yeah.
that's leading him to eating grapes.
You mean he might come to you? Oh, you're saying he's allowed to have hana from it? Oh, that's a very good kasha. I'll tell you what you're asking. You're asking, since a Nazir shouldn't go through a vineyard because he might come to eat grapes, so how could he deal with grapes? Psh, that's a very good kasha. But listen, sometimes a person has to. He has no choice. If a person has no choice, but he has to walk through the vineyard, he can walk through the vineyard. But we tell him go around if he has another way to go. But let's say that's his parnasa. That's what he does for a living. He sells wine for a living. He shouldn't work for 30 days. He should sit at home. That's okay, as long as he doesn't drink it. But you're right, in general, stay away, anytime. If you don't have to walk in the street, you don't have to look, you don't have to do, you don't have to this, so you stay away from it. You're right.
And also in the bowl,
Yeah.
if it could rise to the other side
Mm-hmm.
and come to the hole from the other side, then sure it could rise from the inside to
Right.
the hole. So then you need a
Right, but the Gemara says we're not scared that it's going to rise to the other side. Maybe, I would thought, maybe. Yeah, but it doesn't go over and touch the outside. It rises.
It rises.
Oh, so you're saying the top hole?
In the inside.
But I don't need it. What if the hole is not closed? You think it's going to pop out of that hole? Nothing will happen. When you're kneading it, you're going like this. The water could shoot out and things, the flour will shoot out. So I need the bottom one. We're talking about a big bowl, not this type of bowl. Big bowl. The top has a hole. No, what's going to happen? Nothing's going to happen. The dough, by that time, the dough is so thick, it's not going to come out. But hey, shkoyach for your questions. Gewaldige stuff. Yoel, I'm so proud of you, Yoel.
Bro, Eli, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.